Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking this gasoline electric golf cart out for its first road test. You know, I have no idea how this contraption is going to perform, but based on the data we collected from the prototype, we should do fairly well. Now, if you're new to the channel, well, this is an electric golf cart that's been modified and all the batteries have been removed, but technically it's still an electric golf cart. You see, we pitched the heavy and expensive lead-acid batteries and installed a little 6.5 horsepower engine and a 140 amp alternator. The engine and alternator combination is something we're calling the petroleum battery. Well, because this gizmo provides all the electricity that this golf cart needs. You see, the goal of this project is to get an electric golf cart back on the road without using batteries. Today's video is going to be a little bit different, and we're going to do the road test first, then we'll get into the details. So here's what's going on. This guy is the emergency stop button. Pushing this button will disconnect the alternator from the electric drive motor. This button is obviously for emergencies, but it's also used to service the vehicle. Now over here we have the starter switch for the gasoline engine, and right here is the forward and reverse switch. Yep, this is a rare feature on one of my projects, and the best part is it actually works. Now the brake pedal, that's obvious, right? However, on this rig, the brakes are wired into the emergency stop circuit, so pressing the brakes also disconnects the alternator from the electric drive motor. On the dashboard is the main power switch. This switch is connected to a relay and turns on the power for the simple control system that we're using. So, in the event of an emergency, there are basically three choices. You can slap the emergency stop switch, step on the brake, or flip the switch to the off position. Now this switch doesn't affect the gasoline engine, and the switch can be and should be left in the off position when the engine started. Alright, let's start the engine. Nice. Now out back, we did add a mini tailpipe and muffler. You know, a lot of folks commented on that in the last video. It was always in the plan, but we didn't have it in place last week. So now we can turn on the main switch. And let's put this thing in reverse. Stepping on the accelerator a little bit activates the automatic throttle for the gasoline engine, and pressing on the accelerator a little bit more will get this buggy moving. Let's put this thing in the garage so we can set it up for the road test. Brrr, it's cold outside. Hopefully you folks are staying nice and warm. Anyway, I have everything set up for the road test. Now, since this is the very first outing, we do have a fire extinguisher ready just in case. Let's take a sneak peek in the battery compartment. And there it is, the petroleum battery. And to make it all work, we have this little box full of wires. Basically, it's just two relays and a tiny PWM power supply. One relay is connected to the e-stop switch and the brake pedal, and the other relay is connected to the battery, and that turns on all the power by flipping the switch on the dashboard. Now, I don't show it on the diagram, but there are fuses in the circuit. Alright, let's do this before it snows again. Keep in mind it's cold and I'm allowing the engine to warm up as I slowly back up. If I were to floor the accelerator, well, this thing would move a lot faster. Alright, this is the first road test, and at this point we've only driven this thing in and out of the garage twice, so I'm pretty excited to see how this thing performs. Now, I should mention that we haven't calibrated the foot throttle yet, so I have to be careful how much throttle I give this thing. If I give it too much throttle, well, it may overload the engine and cause it to stall. Now, when we do calibrate the throttle, then this thing can be driven pretty much with the accelerator floored all the time. That's how I like to drive. Just floor it and enjoy the ride. Anyway, something like this is made to be driven at full throttle, but it can be driven slower for whatever reason. So today we have to be mindful of the throttle And, well, this thing is actually pretty fast. Interesting. Now, it may be confusing hearing the engine run at a constant speed, but remember, this is an electric golf cart and not a gasoline golf cart. The engine automatically ramps up to 3600 RPM whenever the accelerator pedal is pressed. You see, at 3600 RPM, the petroleum battery is able to generate maximum power, and this also improves the efficiency of the alternator. For best overall performance, running the engine at 3600 RPM is the way to go. So this electric golf cart goes down the road really nice without any batteries. Unfortunately, the camera makes this thing sound louder than it actually is. Now, if it wasn't for the bitter cold, I reckon I could drive this thing for hours. Thankfully, the windshield is keeping me out of the direct airflow. Otherwise, I think I would have been frozen solid by now. Several weeks ago, we ran the prototype on a 10-mile journey through the Kansas countryside, pretty much at full throttle, and amazingly, we were able to get 40 miles to the US gallon. Now, fuel economy is not the goal of this project, and we're more interested in speed and power. But, given the fact that we saw decent fuel economy on the Cushman, I reckon if we could do the same with this nicer and way more comfortable golf cart, that would be awesome. Now, as you can see, we still have some snow on the ground, but the paved roads are clear of any snow and ice. Unfortunately, on the back roads, there's still plenty of snow and ice, and the roads are treacherous, so we're not going to be able to do an extended road trip today. The good news is, we should be seeing some warmer weather soon, and possibly more snow, so who knows, the weatherman sure doesn't. So today I'm all by myself, and I don't have a cameraman, nor do I have any backup. So I'm going to have to stay within walking distance of the shop, which is probably a good idea on the first road test. So the purpose of this project is to get an electric golf cart back on the road without using batteries, and so far we're making good progress. Now, there are videos out there that show how to gut an electric motor and rig up a chain drive so you can directly connect a little gasoline engine to the rear axle on one of these things. Well, that'll work, but there are two things to consider. First is, doing something like that, well, you won't have reverse, and you'll need to rig up some sort of forward-reverse gearbox, which is doable. Now, here's something else to consider. The axle ratio on this thing is 12.2 to 1, so basically you would have all torque and no top speed, and the engine would have to run at about 5,000 RPM just to go a little bit over 20 miles per hour. Now, by keeping the electric motor in place and using the petroleum battery, we get reverse, which is nice to have. And best of all, the engine actually runs at a reasonable speed. You know, it's easy for some folks to criticize this contraption, but if you're actually going to get your hands dirty and build something, well, this is the best way to repurpose a dead electric golf cart on the cheap. You see, the petroleum battery is just a low-cost 212cc engine and an alternator that are mounted to a steel plate. On this project, I way overbuilt the system and added rubber isolators to the mounting system to reduce vibrations and a full exhaust system to reduce the noise. However, it can be done much simpler. It all depends on how much work you want to do. Now, we do have to do a lot more testing as far as durability goes, but in theory, we're not asking the engine or the alternator to do anything outside their design limits. One of the most important things to keep in mind is the alternator needs to stay cool. Now, there's likely a lot of hot air in the battery compartment of this thing, but overall, the environment where the alternator is placed is significantly cooler than being bolted directly to the engine on a car. So far, we've had zero problems with the alternator. I think I've pretty much figured out how to drive this thing. Let's do a high-speed run and see how fast it'll go. Now, unfortunately, the speedometer may be hard to see, so I'll put the speed up on the screen for you. The metric speed is rounded up to the nearest whole number. So it looks like right now 24 miles per hour is all she's got, and it took 25 seconds to get there. So keep in mind, that was done with an uncalibrated throttle. In theory, once we calibrate the throttle, we should still be able to go 24 miles an hour, but I'm not sure how that's going to affect the time. It'll be interesting to see how this thing performs after we tweak it a little bit. Now did you folks see what I just did? Yep, we did our drag race test right here in downtown. Well, shucks. Actually, I don't think I broke any laws today. So the reason I keep mentioning that the throttle is uncalibrated is, well, it may appear the golf cart is sluggish, and I guarantee you it's not. The reason it may seem sluggish is, well, I have to apply the throttle lightly in order not to stall the engine. You see, calibrating the throttle will match the power that the engine can make to the load that we can put on the engine, and at that point we can drive this cart like we stole it. So on this outing, I wanted to drive the golf cart at its full potential to get some baseline data, and of course I had to be careful not to stall the engine. Anyway, I don't know anything about golf carts, however I bet some of you folks do. And I'm curious if anybody's timed a golf cart before, and how much time does it take for a regular golf cart to get up to 20 or 24 miles per hour? Put it in the comments if you actually have real numbers that you'd like to share with us. Well, the electric golf cart managed to drive for well over 30 minutes without any batteries. If the weather were better, I reckon I could have continued driving this rig because it's actually a lot of fun. As you can see in the battery compartment, we do have a tiny battery, but that guy supplies the power for the electric starter and for the little PWM power supply in this box. Keep in mind, this is the simple system and we're not using a microcomputer. However, we will eventually develop a system based on an Arduino microcomputer for slightly better performance. But I really think the simple analog system's likely going to be the best choice. As you can see, the petroleum battery is kind of a tight fit. And way back here is where the alternator is. Now, there are some components like this big relay that do absolutely nothing, and it's an artifact from the old electrical system. We left it in place for now because at some point we may need it for a future experiment. Anyway, over on the front of the battery compartment, you can see the forward-reverse switch. Now, due to space issues, we ended up moving this switch to the right exactly 6 inches. The header pipe does get kind of close, and we'll do a wrap on this pipe to mitigate the heat that it radiates. Anyway, we somehow managed to get everything fit in this limited space. Now, if this thing were to be used as a utility vehicle, I think both the battery and the fuel tank could be placed in the open area at the rear of the golf cart. And that would open up a lot of space in the engine compartment. Let's take the body off so you can get a better look at how all these parts fit. Now, if you've been following this project, you've pretty much seen all this stuff before, but we did make some changes. As I mentioned earlier while we were driving around, well, we overbuilt this system and we used rubber isolators to mount the petroleum battery, and we put flex joints in the exhaust system to reduce the vibrations and the noise. Over here is where we mounted the servos for the automatic choke and the automatic throttle. These automatic features are not necessary, and a regular choke and throttle cable from a lawnmower would work just fine. Under the fuel tank, we mounted a Mikuni-style pulse fuel pump to get the fuel to the carburetor. This is the input, and this is the output for the fuel, and this is the pulse port. We're getting the pulses to run the fuel pump from this bunk threaded into the valve cover. This type of fuel pump uses pressure pulses from inside the engine to help pump the fuel. It seems to work fine, even with the crankcase breather open to the atmosphere. Now, eventually we're going to connect the crankcase vent to the carburetor in order to keep the fumes down. Now, given the size of the fuel tank and the estimated fuel economy, the range of this contraption is about 38 miles if driven at full throttle. Since we have to run a fuel pump anyway, a much larger tank could be fitted at the rear of this buggy for more range. But for our testing purposes, this little fuel tank holds plenty of fuel, and we're going to just leave it alone. The electric motor obviously works because, well, duh. But since we don't have the service history of this golf cart, I'm going to assume it's going to need new brushes. Brushes are cheap, and we might as well replace them just in case. So this golf cart was set up with basic and simple analog control circuit. We added the servo-controlled throttle and choke to the system for convenience. However, that doesn't change the way the simple circuit works. Overall, it seems like the petroleum battery works as expected, so not too shabby. We do need to add a voltage and current gauge so we can monitor the power of the petroleum battery and calibrate the system. Now, technically the gauges are not needed to calibrate the system, but since we know that the Cushman was happy and performed excellent at 90 amps max, I want to see how much current that this new golf cart can tolerate without stalling the engine. After all, it's much lighter than the Cushman, and we may be able to tune the Predator engine for a bit more power. So in the previous video, when I activated the throttle servo, well, you could hear that the little engine was starving for fuel because it was running extremely lean for some reason. Now, with the aftermarket air filter and the custom exhaust system, we may have actually improved the efficiency of the engine. Prior to today's adventure, I did pop the carburetor off and had a look at the main jet, and it was marked .027, which is a tiny bit smaller than the standard .028 jets that are normally found on the 212cc carburetors. Just for fun, I replaced the .027 jet with a .032 jet, and that really helped with the way the engine handles the automatic throttle. Now, anytime changes are made to the intake or exhaust system on these engines, you have to consider how that'll affect the way the carburetor is tuned. Even though this exhaust system is extremely quiet, it appears it flows really well because the engine was running lean after we changed the intake and exhaust system. Now, this is all good news. Changing the jet to get the engine to run correctly again also means we likely have a bit more power available. This will help with both performance and fuel economy. It'll definitely be interesting to see how much faster we can get this golf cart to accelerate in our future episodes. Well, I do have a lot of work to do, so I'm going to end this video here. Now, I certainly had a lot of fun today, and I hope you did as well. We'll see you next time. Until then,